There is a study by the Cali and University of California. It was published, I think, in 2015.
Berkeley.
Yes, the University of Berkeley.
Where it was shown that people who meditate at 50 years old did not have a brain 7.5 years younger than those who did not meditate. And that's because precisely due to that powerful level of brain activation during the state of meditation.
Welcome to the Eternal Life Channel, Answers from Science. Throughout my professional life, I have treated patients diagnosed with clinical death from various causes. By applying cardiopulmonary resuscitation measures as soon as possible, among the patients we managed to revive, some of them have had a series of experiences that deeply caught my attention. They are defined as near-death experiences. I like Bruce Grayson's definition, which describes near-death experiences as subjective, profound experiences with a transcendent component, occurring in patients close to death and transcending space, time, and the ego. As doctors, according to our training, to try to explain the intimate mechanism of producing NDEs, we approach it through the scientific method. The scientific method is based on a materialistic ontology and considers death as the end of our existence.
Define near-death experiences as hallucinations.
However, by conducting a comparative study between hallucinations and near-death experiences, we can objectively demonstrate that clinically they are completely different and do not explain the series of phenomena that patients report during the near-death experience.
Quantum mechanics, a discipline that fundamentally developed from the 19th century, 20th century, considers energy as the basic structural element. Everything is energy.
Has a series of principles that show a great parallel with the series of phenomena reported by patients in near-death experiences. These principles, which we could summarize as the superposition of states, quantum coherence, quantum entanglement, and the tunneling effect, allow us to demonstrate this great parallel between these principles and the phenomena of near-death experiences. For example, quantum entanglement is closely related to the ability these patients have during the near-death experience to transmit information independent of space and time. The tunnel phenomenon, for example, explains or maintains a relationship, a great parallel with the phenomenon that patients describe in near-death experiences regarding the ease they have in passing through solid structures. Applying these principles of quantum mechanics in a structural view of the human being, we can define the human being as consisting of a body which is matter, that is, energy collapsed into matter, low-frequency energy. Mental activity, with all the psychic phenomena that do not have a material basis, would be high-frequency energy in the form of electromagnetic waves. And then we must accept the existence of a subtle energy that continues outside the brain, which explains these phenomena that coincide and are parallel to the principles of quantum mechanics and is defined as non-local consciousness. It is also defined as spirit, and I like to define it as superconsciousness because it is above local or neuronal consciousness. This superconsciousness is our true identity, the one that makes us unique and unrepeatable. And it is holistic with respect to the primary consciousness, the primary intelligence. Therefore, it has its properties, which are omnipresence, meaning it is eternal. It has omniscience, meaning it knows everything. The clinical manifestation would be intuition, and it has omnipotence, it can do everything. Clinically, it would be creativity, which is creating, originating something from nothing. With this supraconsciousness, we can therefore assert today that physical death is not the end of our existence, but that after physical death, our existence continues evidently in another energetic dimension. Supraconsciousness is our existential reality. It is our purpose in life in the human dimension, which is three-dimensional. It is the being, the seeking and finding of our supraconsciousness, and not the doing or having, which is the expression of our false materialistic identity, what we define as ego. We have studied, therefore, the supraconsciousness from a point of view in unconscious patients. We are now faced with the question, is it possible to know? And to consciously contact the supraconsciousness, we can emphatically answer yes, it is possible. And without a doubt, the means, the safest and most evident path is meditation. This is the topic we are going to discuss in depth in this video today. For this, I have the pleasure and great satisfaction of introducing Mr. José María Clopés. He is a person with deep and extensive experience in advanced meditation. Friend José María Clopés, first of all, thank you very much for accepting this invitation, and I am sure that what you will share with us will be a light that will illuminate our path towards the conscious knowledge of our supraconsciousness. Thank you very, very much for your presence. It's a pleasure. Thank you, Doctor. Before starting the discussion with our meditation expert, José María Clopés, I will give a brief summary of his resume. He holds a diploma in marketing management, is a master in advanced meditation, and a writer. His professional life has been as a general and marketing director in national and international companies, for example, in the United States at Share Corporation. He is a master of advanced meditation with more than 40 years of experience. Currently, he is dedicated to teaching meditation full-time with more than 2,000 training programs at his institution, Egesinkustav Meditation Consulting. He is a contributor to informative programs on Catalunya Radio, on television, at the Illustrious College of Physicians of Barcelona, and at the Equestrian Circle. He is the author of the book Meditation, Your Source of Power, a book I recommend. I have the pleasure and honor to say that I took a meditation course and he was my teacher. So, I am absolutely certain that what we are going to achieve in this video will truly be important and profound. I would like to start the discussion by asking José María, what is meditation, José María?
Doctor, this is a really interesting question because there is a certain popular culture that associates meditation with meditation techniques. However, meditation does not correspond to a technique, but rather it corresponds to a state, a personal state, which has psychological characteristics and physical characteristics. And specifically, meditation in that state is to bring our conscious mind to take the conscious experience that we normally have looking outward, which allows us to understand the world, our approach to the world, and the model we have of our understanding of the world, and turn that experience inward and take it to a level where all activity is transcended, all mental activity, that is thoughts, feelings, emotions, even the personal ego, All that level of activity so present in our life is transcended, and then the mind becomes silent and observes the deep field of consciousness at the deepest level of our existence. As to that level, in that instant, which has its own characteristics because the mind becomes basically silent, becomes completely crystalline and expands, and a very surprising state of joy and personal fulfillment appears, which is surprising because initially there is no stimulus, but it appears spontaneously. The state of fullness, the state of inner peace, the state of mental clarity and deep silence, where you observe your profound reality, the state of pure consciousness that you precisely define as super consciousness, in that instant, in that moment of observation, is the state of meditation.
What are the objectives of meditation? What do we aim to achieve with meditation? What is the fundamental purpose of meditation?
The main purpose of meditation is the self-knowledge of our deep reality. The ability to describe, well, who I really am, right? What I am doing here. That redefinition of oneself and one's relationship with nature. The essential purpose of meditation is the reunion with our primordial reality. I believe this is something that defined our entire search in life and completely redefines our relationship with ourselves and with nature. And ultimately, the feeling of that closeness with nature that allows us to feel that state of personal liberation. That is the fundamental purpose. Then there are other more pragmatic purposes in our modern life, let's say it like that. But the essence of meditation is the reunion with oneself and with nature.
Would you agree that meditation would help us answer those three fundamental existential questions that every human being asks throughout their life? Who am I? Where do I come from? And where am I going? It is difficult to answer these questions. Thaliso Militus standis obisita sinna fitn, a pre-Socratic philosopher from the 6th century before Christ, defined this difficulty, see if you agree, as "Aifinomto, the most difficult thing for a human being is to know oneself, and the easiest is to speak ill of others." Do you think meditation has much to say in answering these three existential questions?
I believe it is the essential path. I believe it is the essential path. It's not that I believe it, it's that I am truly convinced of it. You are convinced. And also, if I look back and think, well, for example, when I was little, I remember a moment, maybe I was 6, 7, 8 years old. I was sitting on the stairs of my house, and at that moment, I still remember, I had a thought, what am I doing here? What is the meaning of all this? And I remember I was very young. I think it's that idea. It is fundamental in all people. We should ask ourselves, what am I doing here? What meaning and purpose does my existence have? And I believe this is the great theme of human dignity, the ability we have to answer that question. We are a direct expression of nature. And having that ability to tap into the creative intelligence of nature and realize how nature understands itself through deep experience, that we can achieve with that inner gaze to the essence of our physiology and discover that this universal energy field, which is responsible for all visible and invisible existence in the universe, I believe that understanding fulfills the purpose of human life.
Wonderful, Jose Maria. Extraordinary.
To achieve these states of deep consciousness, we can consider meditation as a technique. And if we consider it as a technique, I ask, are there various possible techniques to achieve it? And which do you recommend and why?
This is a formidable question. Viola, fantastic, because essentially the ability to tap into the creative intelligence of nature is something available to the human being. Simply because we have a very powerful mind and we have a brain with more cells than there are stars in the entire galaxy, plus a published figure, 100 billion of...
Exactly.
Of neuron cells.
Of neurons. Yes, yes, yes. Although now they might have lowered the number, perhaps.
Yes, 80,000.
But of course, one must consider that there is also an exponential number of nerve connections in a package of approximately 1.5 kilograms of matter.
About 3 trillion neural connections.
It's outrageous, yes, but it's an equivalence of nature itself, because it's a phenomenon de la propia naturaleza. Porque es un fenómeno. It's a fantastic phenomenon to have the ability to bring experience to touch that fundamental field of natural law within the structure of this world. This ability is inherent to human life. Everyone has experienced it. Everyone has the ability to transcend the experience and take it to that state of pure consciousness. Moreover, many people who are listening to us now have had that experience very naturally, right? Maybe looking at a landscape or taking a shower or getting ready in front of the mirror or looking at the sea, right? There are moments of there's a word in Spanish that I really like. I learned it when I was 17, right? That process of pure abstraction, that process of not even knowing if you are the gender you are, right? Simply, you are pure existence, timeless, infinite, right? Those flashes, right? They are flashes of experience, of pure consciousness. And that happens naturally because due to the uniqueness of human life, because of our ability to take our experience to that level and touch that unified field of natural law defined by modern physics. That happens naturally. However, if you want to replicate that experience systematically in your life so that it becomes something present, then you need a methodology. And that's where the techniques known as meditation techniques appear, because they are methodologies to bring the experience without errors to that level. Then, here, there are many techniques. Some are techniques considered more suggestive from the scientific point of view, and there are other techniques, very classical, very deep, that generate physical patterns of transformation in the brain. And this is a very important aspect of meditation. How the brain works under the meditation pattern, what happens when the experience is taken to that level, how the nervous system functions. That unified field of natural law within our physiology is something we experience as an exciting moment from the perspective of physics. Because you will remember that in 2012, there was the announcement of the discovery of the Higgs boson by CERN.
No more, no less.
Well, there were several announcements about it.
In 2013, they awarded the Nobel Prize precisely for the discovery to Higgs of the Higgs boson.
Exactly. But this discovery, why is it relevant? It is relevant for only one reason, because it is the scientific evidence that at the vacuum level, within the structure of the atom, it is not empty. It is an infinite field of energy responsible for all matter and all visible and invisible existence in the universe. It is what supports the standard model that is called in physics.
Exactly.
Very well. So the main consequence of that is that we are beings made of matter. We are made of molecules, and at the quantum level of atoms and particles.
In the vacuum level of our physiology, we see that unified field of all natural law in the most intimate, deepest structure of our own physiology.
What we do when we meditate is use the resources that nature itself has placed in our hands, which is this package that is the mind and the nervous system, to take the experience further to that deep level
of our existence and experience the unified field of natural law in our own human life.
It's curious because on one hand, I see that we scientists have spent a lot of money building machines like the particle accelerator of
CERN, yes. From CERN, capable of penetrating the very structure of matter to search for that unified field of natural law. And how, on the other hand, we have the physical resources to reach that field with our own experience. And that field is completely, it corresponds, the description of the state of pure consciousness corresponds exactly with the description of the unified field of natural law.
Totally. From the standard law, among all the meditation techniques, which one do you recommend and why?
This is a good question. Especially for the people listening to us, believe that all techniques have that purpose. I think for the people listening to us, it would be good for them to choose one, whichever they feel comfortable with. But perhaps the most difficult and complex thing is that meditation itself is a whole process. You don't reach meditation suddenly, it's a process. So to carry out that process, and especially to save time, to do it efficiently, it is more important to have a guide, a training program that gives you the information and helps you develop the skill to use those resources effectively and also efficiently. And then feel that process of how that contact with the unified field of natural law, that contact with the super consciousness brings forth the fundamental qualities, the tones of vibration, right? That brings forth those values in our daily life and can impact our quality of life. Because there's another topic, and I take this opportunity, that many people see meditation itself as a goal, but meditation, the purpose is not to meditate. Because I can be meditating for hours. But what is that going to mean? Does it mean that I am a better person? I think what is important is what happens after meditating. When those values, right, that level of contact with that fundamental level of existence are reflected in our daily life.
Values like knowledge, like bala, like harmonia, inner peace, the ability to listen to others.
We will talk about
the tension of the ego.
We will talk about these aspects in depth.
So when those values become useful for the person,
and for their relationship with the environment.
So I believe that each person has to choose what they feel is their own path, their own tool, feel comfortable, but above all seek training and guidance.
Or with all the techniques, are there any aspects of the environment that influence meditation? That is, how to perform meditation. Can it be done anywhere? Or do you recommend, for example, a specific place, away from external stimuli,
auditory, visual, etc. That is, does the environment also influence meditation?
Well, meditation is not based on the environment, it is based on a capacity, right? Which is to take the mind beyond. That is independent of the environment. Let's give an example. We could be, in our case, since we live here in Barcelona, we could be in the middle of the Barça field, right? With 100,000 people shouting.
And yet you could be sitting, closing your eyes, and bringing that attention to that deep level of our consciousness. You would end up meditating in the middle of the whole festival.
So the environment is not that important.
It's not that important. We have the ability to meditate at any time and in any environment. Now, having said this, it is true that there are environments that also have accumulated energy. Let's give an example. A cathedral, right? Or a hermitage. I have had very beautiful experiences. I remember when I visited Assisi, where it was the cradle of Franciscanism in Italy, in the region of Umbria, the city of Assisi.
Yes.
And well, it's a very particular case. Books have even been written, right, about people who have had very profound sensory experiences in that place, right? And I remember I visited the Hermitage of San Damiano, which is right at the entrance, and it was the first hermitage that Saint Francis of Assisi built. Millions of people have passed through there over the centuries. Well, you enter the small hermitage, close your eyes, and the stones vibrate. There's energy. Not even, you simply enter a state of communion, a state of communion with the natural law, in communion with the superconsciousness. You don't have to make any effort. Why? Because it is in that state. So the environment, there are environments that are conducive, right? That can facilitate, right, that level of connection.
Let's move on to aspects that I consider very important. We have mentioned the fundamental purpose, which is to find this authentic essence, our deepest part, our superconsciousness. Thank you. But are there any biological benefits? Does meditation condition some biological benefits? Can these benefits be objectified with MRIs, with CT scans, with some exploration? That is, are there morphological changes? Are there changes that we can objectify that are a consequence or benefit of well-done, advanced, or deep meditation?
Yes, of course. And besides, it has been done for years.
In fact, when one observes the changes in the behavior of people who meditate, how you see your life transform, your relationship with yourself, with the environment transforms. Someone might wonder, but what is happening? What is happening at the physical level, at the level of the nervous system, at the level of the brain? And in fact, you know that I have also done my work in that aspect, right? In the last 6 years, right? And that have been published in my book, but that are also consistent with everything that international teams have been analyzing. Yes, there are changes, and it's simply because the state, moreover, it follows physics. It completely follows physics, the state of superconsciousness, that state of emptiness, that state of minimal mental excitation, that state of inner silence that Buddhists call emptiness, false emptiness, or voidness, is the state of minimal mental excitation. It is the state of pure abstraction in a waking state. That state of inner silence involves a strong response from the nervous system. That is known. In fact, it involves the maximum response from the nervous system, and it is a principle of physics, applying the third law of thermodynamics.
Exactly.
How does that translate physically? Well, what has been observed is that there is a strong activation of the prefrontal cortex. The brain works by frequency bands. They are wave functions. You know, there are five fundamental bands, although there are more bands because there are sub-bands. The fundamental ones are five frequency bands that are related to certain cognitive activities. So we have high frequency bands, low frequency bands. When a person relaxes and enters a resting state, alpha category waves appear in the back of the brain. It is a very stable low frequency wave, so the wavelength is longer and it has the ability to be related to resting states, to meditation, of mental clarity, of problem solving. But with meditation, it has been observed that these waves appear intensely in the frontal lobe. They activate intensely in the frontal lobe. They are waves that have the ability to synchronize. That is a fundamental phenomenon of meditation. And, well, I would say very revealing, because in the state of meditation, states of high coherence are generated in the functioning of the brain waves. This is wave physics, and when you have a wave pattern, you have a wave function, which has an amplitude and an intensity with its spectrum, and you have another wave function which has an amplitude and intensity with its spectrum, and the crests and troughs of the waves coincide in time. This is called synchronism or coherence. The result is a wave of greater amplitude and greater intensity. That is either more energy or it processes more information per unit of time. So the brain becomes highly efficient,
coherent and such.
How does that translate into practice? Well, people who meditate, because of that, the brain becomes highly efficient, which is a consequence of reducing mental activity to that state of inner silence. Then the experience opens up. And the direct correspondence with behavior is that you start to gain distance. You separate from the day-to-day. And your response, why? Because the brain processes more information per unit of time. Due to the relativistic effect, time slows down. So it gives you the feeling of being able to observe things, of having better judgment. The mind expands, you have greater mental clarity, you make better decisions, you have better self-control, and any meditator has experienced this. They know that naturally they have self-control over their emotional response. You have more patience, more tolerance, more listening ability. Then there is a strong increase in conditions, in cognitive functions, attention, concentration, learning ability, coordination, writing, the level of creativity, which is how I approach life, how I approach everyday scenarios. It's a perspective or from end perspectives, that ability to open yourself to new options. That is creative intelligence. And the most impressive thing, I believe, about the human being is that if the brain is extraordinary because it has great levels of internal computation. But what is extraordinary is that between analysis and irrationality is the ability to realize something. That flash of understanding is touching that creative intelligence of nature, and is what makes it unique.
Human life.
Apart from these aspects, which we will later delve into regarding the psychological impact that meditation conditions from a morphological point of view, has any change been observed at the brain level? Yes. In people who meditate regularly and can be detected by imaging, by exploration, by imaging, whether by magnetic resonance, by CT scan, by PET scan?
That is, are there morphological changes?
Yes, and it's also completely verified, right? There are publications and people go on the internet and look for scientific archives, right? With the publisher L.
Saber, for example, are very published. And with 7 or 8 weeks, it is true that it has to be deep meditation. It has only been observed with levels with deep meditation tools.
because then there are the suggestive techniques which are not so clear. But with deep meditation tools like the ones you practice or the ones I practice, the ones we practice, let's say it like that, medium grade growth of neural masses has been observed in 7 or 8 weeks. There is a whole process already demonstrated of neurogenesis, growth of glial cells in the hippocampus, strong activations, also very efficient. They are created, you know that the brain is completely plastic.
Yes.
Ramón y Cajal already said it.
Ramón y Cajal, exactly.
He said that anyone, if they set their mind to it, can be the architect of their own brain.
And reformulate all this. So this is something evident, fully verified, and a strong growth of cells of medium-grade neural masses. Yes, yes, yes. In different regions of the brain. There is a scientist, Sarah Lazaro, whom you...
Yes.
And furthermore, she has conducted a very, very, very powerful study in that regard, in which 5 different regions of the brain are seen with subtly defined morphological changes. Moreover, meditation is the tool, and I will add, it is the most powerful tool for brain activation. And you as a doctor and scientist know that the cells, neurons, are the toughest cells we have in the human body. And in the past, it has always been known that the brain reaches its maturity between 25 or 30 years old, and from there it ages.
The senile evolution begins.
Exactly. It's called contraction, right, of the brain that accompanies aging. But now it is known that new neurons can be born throughout life, even slow down the brain aging process or rejuvenate it. There is a study by the University of California, published, I think, in 2015.
Berkeley.
Yes, in Berkeley.
Where it was shown that people who meditate at 50 years old did not have a brain 7.5 years younger than the group that did not meditate. And why is that? Precisely because of that powerful level of brain activation during the state of meditation. When you do it in the morning, you do it in the afternoon, and every day you simply develop a brain.
Great book by Joe Dispenza, right?
Yes, Joe Dispenza, The Brain.
Exactly. Okay. We have already talked about the biological aspects or benefits, even with a morphological basis. We have also talked about the emotional benefits. Do you want to add any more aspects from the emotional point of view? I would ask you one thing. Sometimes, in my meditation, I reach the deepest moments. I still consider myself a newborn in meditation, but what catches my attention is that there comes a moment when one has a feeling of openness, of vastness, of being part of everything. One feels like the universe and nature. That is to say, one feels lovingly connected to everything. That is to say that one is part of everything, that I am the universe. How would you interpret this? How would you explain this to me? This feeling of openness, of being the universe.
Because we bring conscious experience to that level, which is the unified field of all natural law. There is neither space nor time there. It is an experience of singularity. Singularity is the union, right, of our conscious experience with that subconscious level of our existence. Singularity is fundamental in physics, in quantum mechanics, and in astrophysics, for example, right?
The origin of the universe, for example, is fundamental. Singularity.
Black holes.
Exactly.
Vector of the galaxies, right? Within at the center of the galaxies.
Carl Ross, who won a Nobel Prize in 20 precisely for his studies on black holes, exactly.
My experience with meditation is that we have the ability to create singularity within ourselves, bringing the experience to that level where space and time disappear, and it is simply pure existence. The individual mind identifies with the cosmic mind, and our experience becomes cosmos.
Exactly. You feel like the cosmos.
Exactly.
How well you explain it, Jose Maria. Thank you. I notice this feeling. We have talked about the aspect or impact that meditation has on a personal level, but if we look at our surroundings, it is evident that there is a great egomania prevailing, with a very negative life dynamic. That is to say, people base this ego on excessive competitiveness, envy, hatred, aggression, violence, which we see in this egomania that surrounds us. Do you think meditation has to be an important tool worldwide to help bring about a change to this materialistic, selfish view that prevails in our society at the moment? Do you believe that to change, to improve our coexistence, our civility on a global level, meditation has to be an important tool for this change that our civilization needs?
Honestly, what I think is that meditation in this century will become the most powerful tool for personal development and personal empowerment. And simply because that level is necessary, there has been an evolution in leadership. We have moved from levels based on knowledge to levels based on objectives to levels based on now on that level of connection with natural law. No, we are not separate. We are not something that functions independently. We are connected and deeply related to nature. And I believe that it will govern all our behavior. And there are two great forces in nature that operate, right? On one hand, there is greed. On the other hand, there is generosity. It depends on which of these forces inherent in nature and generating the entire dynamic of existence dominates, as it will define the course of our existence. I believe that for the sustainability of our planet, the security of society and of all existing life, the human being has that feeling of responsibility that connects them, right, with that relationship with nature, that feeling of responsibility, knowing the resources that exist on the planet and how to use them sustainably. And what to do with them so that the planet continues to function and develop. It must operate in connection with the values of natural law. We cannot operate at the level of ignorance. We have to operate in harmony with natural law, decision making, how we are going to do things. It has to be at that level of connection. So meditation leads the individual to that level of communion with the values of natural law. If you do it, I do it, people do it, society becomes aware in harmony with natural law, and decision-making in of our society will be improved and will help the sustainability of the planet.
Do you agree with that beautiful phrase by Gandhi, that the change we want in the world must start with the change in each of us?
Totally agree.
We must achieve a sufficient critical mass that has overcome the ignorance prevailing regarding our existential reality, as it is this critical mass, without ignorance, with genuine knowledge, that must drive this much-needed change in human beings and our relationship with nature, with our planet.
So meditation is a weapon, as you say, fundamentally of the future.
Yes, it is the fundamental tool in this 21st century, that ability we have to take that personal inward look, because both the questions and the answers are at that level. It's at the fundamental level of our existence. It's all knowledge. Everything emerges from there. That transcendent gaze, that silent gaze of connection with our deep reality from which we emerge.
is what redefines our relationship with ourselves. We have a tool that can help us define our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with the immediate environment on a personal, family, social, and professional level, decision-making, right? And as you approach that deep level of existence, that communion with natural law, the values of that natural law, that feeling of liberation, of empowerment and liberation, and of the final conquest of our own freedom, well, I believe this makes the individual free and improves society.
Do you agree that to be truly happy and truly free is only achieved when we connect with our superconsciousness, with this deep consciousness? As long as we are dominated by the ego, we will never be happy. We will have moments of pleasure, but we will not be happy, and we will not be truly free either. Do you agree?
Totally agree. In fact, the further you move away from that level of contact,
Exactly.
the more attachments you have, the more miserable your life becomes.
Perfect.
Och the closer you are to start level, the greater the feeling of a freedom. Why?
Because nature has no attachments, it has infinite degrees of freedom, because it is responsible for everything. So the closer you get to nature, the more that feeling of personal liberation grows. And the moment you feel that liberation, that's when you can enjoy existence. I believe that experiencing this is the true purpose and meaning of our existence. And then there is a fundamental derivative of this. Then what do you do with this? What do you dedicate your time to? What will be your legacy? What do you contribute, right?
In the functional mechanics of our universe, this is another answer that each of us,
We are co-creators of the universe.
Finding our purpose in life.
There is no determinism, as the scientific method says, but we are co-creators of the universe. Jose Maria, you enlighten us, you open a path for us. Before we finish this part of our meeting, would you like to add any other aspect that we haven't discussed and that you consider of interest in relation to meditation?
What I would say is that if this resonates with you, I'm speaking to the people who might be listening to us. If this resonates with you, pursue it, but not outwardly, rather inwardly. There you will find freedom.
Extraordinary. We move on to the second part of this very interesting meeting. We have received, I would say, countless thousands of people who are interested, communication through social networks, who are tremendously interested in meditation and ask us what the best method is, how they can achieve it, how they can do it, where they should turn. So, we have considered as a goal, and to help this group that is frequently asking us questions about meditation, the possibility of organizing an online meditation course in which people can easily access it and benefit from all these positive aspects you have mentioned, and that meditation can provide us. So we are now ready to organize, and it will obviously be an online course led by our expert, Mr. Jose Maria Clopés. So I would ask you the following questions, because I repeat that there are thousands of people who ask us this question and are interested in meditation. Is it possible to organize an online meditation course easily accessible to everyone? And can you do it from home? Obviously guided and directed by an expert. Is it possible to do it online?
Yes, of course, and in fact, I am already doing it let's say, in my daily work. I am dedicated precisely to this, to providing training. As I received it at the time, it is the only way to do it, especially to save time. Meditation itself is a process. It requires detailed information because conceptually,
Dr. Sans, you know it, meditating is conceptually simple, but in practice it is not. It is full of details because we face the greatest resources we have, which are using the mind and the nervous system. Furthermore, all physiology is connected, so it is very important to have proper training to develop the skill, right, to efficiently use those resources. And then create a transformation process that is useful in your life. And for that, you need training. When I wrote my book, Meditation, Your Source of Power, in chapter 10, I already gave some premises, some advice, some recommendations, right, on the mechanics themselves, right, of meditating correctly. But in the end, I am aware that this is not a training program. It's simply a recommendation, a minimal guide, right? When you talked to me about it, you mentioned there were so many requests we had to fix this because it's not enough to just say, hey, meditate, how is this done? So, and how do we ensure that people succeed with it, right? So, we have been working on it, and we are working on it right now, the creation of a program, concise, capable of conveying that knowledge and ensuring that people succeed with that knowledge in a short time, but with guarantees.
In summary, we can say that online it is possible to do a meditation course and achieve good results.
Completely.
Secondly, it is essential that even if it is online, there must be an expert with deep knowledge of meditation to guide us and structure a methodology in this online course. A person that is a teacher, a guru who directs the dynamics of the course, which is what we are organizing. What would really be the dynamics of the course? What would they be like? What would they be like? Would there be many classes, few classes? How would it? That is a bit of the dynamics, the structural methodology of this course. How would it be? More or less, obviously, in a way, let's say, very generally. How do you plan to structure this?
Well, we are structuring it in a way especially effective so that the person learns to meditate, has the experience from the first day. That is very important key. And then there is a process of information, right, that unfolds over their own personal experience that support, right, what will be needed at the level of a series of sessions, very structured, in a structured period of time as well, because these processes, internal processes, are not immediate. They are, as you well know, they require their time. The brain requires its time. The neuroplasticity of the brain requires its time. So you have to ensure that the person can carry out, can take that inner look in a very precise way, and then provide them with the information and accompany them for a period of time so they can truly develop the skill with judgment, with clear criteria, because many things happen when you meditate, and you need to know how to manage them and go through that whole process. So we are thinking of a program that will surely require anyone who does it online to commit for about 2 months, right? And structured by sessions. Well, we are working on it, but we don't have it well defined yet.
So methodologically, this is already being structured, and yes, there will be very well established and clear rules so that people can continue the course to achieve efficiency. How can, I suppose a channel will be created where people can communicate or enter this channel, they can enroll in this course. Do you plan to do it in a way that is easy and very accessible for people? That is, through a channel where they can find all the information, communicate with the teacher, with the expert. That is, all of this is already planned.
Yes, we are working on it. We are doing it now, right? The idea is to have a specific space for it where people can connect, download the training programs, And then we will accompany them with sessions where I will talk about details, right? And specific questions, right? There will be sessions, what do they call this, of support, right? Where I personally will...
They will be able to communicate with you. This is very important. They will be able to have direct online contact with the person, the meditation teacher. Do you want to add any more clarifying concepts regarding this structuring and formation of this online meditation course? We are doing it due to the number, I repeat, of requests we have received. And roughly, when can this course start? When do you think we can already offer it to the people who are requesting this course?
The truth is that it's a topic. It's a challenge, in fact, because we have to address that fundamental need, right? To be able to have an objective, effective, efficient mechanism, right? Personal, that allows a person, a tool that allows the person to help themselves and to redefine themselves and redefine their relationship with society. We are doing this. We are going to do it in the most effective and efficient way, and it will be available. The first estimates are that it will probably be available this fall, let's say, probably in October, to give a specific month. And more or less we still don't have the date, but we are clear that the period will be in October.
In October.
Yes.
And a specific channel will be opened.
The specific channel is open.
Specific for the meditation course.
Yes, it will be called, well, we can say that, it will be called Advanced Meditation.
Meditation, will it be the name meditation and the name of the teacher?
Yes, there it goes.
Jose Maria Clopés, that is to say, to be clear, the channel will exist and will already have this specific name.
It is being created at this moment.
Jose Maria, we thank you very, very much for your presence here. You have opened light for us. You have opened a path to meditation, which, as you have rightly said, is the future tool that must help us to eliminate this ignorance, to truly find ourselves, our true essence, our consciousness, our super consciousness. And with the course you are going to structure and organize starting from autumn, that is October, we can extend it and help a very important population.
Yes.
Thank you very much. If you want to add any more concepts, we deeply appreciate what you have contributed.
Well, I am very grateful that you invited me, friend Dr. Sans, but to say something more, I hope that what we are going to do will be a tool that makes the person free, right? That supports them, right? That they see that they have the tools, right? More powerful than those that exist in the 21st century and that are theirs, right? That have that ability, right? To empower themselves, to help themselves develop and make their life what she, right, desires and can fulfill their purposes.
Thank you very, very much.
A pleasure.
Very kind. Thank you very much.